What's up, guys? So, as you can tell, it's the night. I'm outside and I'm still in this Bavarian town until the end of the week. Now, having grown up in France, but also being from Bavaria, but living in northern Germany, I it's kind of weird to like move back and forth um, like between these places. Um, and yeah, so the gym, for example, it gives me a constant variable. Um, so now I'm training by a program that I'm following, compared to just like going through the motions or just like training by feel, by sensation. Now I actually write down, I schedule my workouts. And I made sure not to pick too many movement or exercises that I wouldn't be able to do at some other gym. So that's, I think, for example, this summer, I might be in Spain, for example, for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who knows, maybe in France, maybe in Italy even. Because once I'm going to like leave, but not like permanently leave, but just like leave like for the summer, I have to head out. I have to just like go out. Um, and so yeah, just as I have to like go out in the middle of the night, I feel like to like disconnect from this like matrix basically that we're in. Um, like I don't know if this like so this is how I'm going to introduce the topic of today. Is so I'm at my parents now, and I always feel like I have to do something that my parents don't know, and this has become especially clear to me now that like I uh, have kind of just like I don't live at my parents, but I've lived alone for like almost a decade by now. So I moved out when I was like 18, 19, and now I'm 27. And so I've been used to living alone for a long time, and to go back to my parents now, I feel kind of like, like all of a sudden, like I wouldn't like interact or like talk or exchange with my parents a lot for like months on end. And all of a sudden, they're like, it's not that I have like a helicopter mom, but, it kind of goes in that like direction. And so I feel like just like, so this is a little, I call them stickies. And once I matched a girl on Tinder in Germany, and she asked me like, "What do you mean you will like?" I told her like, "I'm about to smoke a sticky," and she said, "What? A little stick of weed? You know, a stick? No, forget about it. You cannot." So Germans basically they have some knowledge of English, but usually some of the English words they use don't mean the same as in English, kind of. It's like in French, you would say le pressing. Le pressing, what is le pressing? It comes from like pressing, the jeans, but it means a laundry. It means a laundry. So if you say pressing to an English speaker, he's going to be like, what do you mean? But the French person might think like, but that's like what like laundry is, and it comes from English. It's pressing, right? No. And so the same way in Germany, they use certain words. I don't like have an example right now, but there's like a good general common, like I would say, knowledge of English in Germany. But like then there's also a certain like limit to that. And one of the like limiting factors is that Germans tend to have their own English at this point. Like I feel like at this quarter of the like first like quarter of the 21st century, I feel like among young people, like English with like social media and like the internet and so on. I could also say the internet, the like World Wide Web. Anyhow, but I like so. like with the internet and like people just like watching YouTube, I guess, and being exposed to like all sorts of like English content. Mm. Now Germans have like a decent, a more than decent level of English on average. I feel like I hear some English like at the gym. I hear some English like, okay, when I'm like traveling in the summer, this is a different thing. But I feel like Gen Z are good in English, kind of. And yeah, so that's also how when I was in Barcelona almost 2 years ago, most people I heard like speaking on the beach in the like evening, what I heard like mostly English, and they have like one bus line in Barcelona that they like erased from like the map of Google Maps. They erased that like they erased that one bus like stop and that one bus line. That one bus that brings you to Parc Gruel or Parc Güell, no, Parc Gruel, I think. The one bus that brings you there, it's not on fucking Google Maps anymore. Why? Because the Spanish or like the Spanish people that like protested against mass tourism, they protested that this bus like stop would like not appear on Google Maps, so that they can like travel like during the because it's so overcrowded. It's so like I think you get my you get the idea, but this is true. I've seen it in a documentary, and I was at this bus stop, and I was wondering because I spoke to like some Spanish people, and I asked them like, how can I go to Parc Güell by bus? And they told me like you have to take this bus like across the street. And so I thought like, okay, but it's not on Google Maps. I think it was like this. And later on, I saw a documentary that this exact bus, it didn't on purpose, didn't show on Google Maps. Now, so me not like me needing to go out to sneak out of my parents like that's I think I'm not the only one, because I remember a couple of years like back how a friend of mine, Baptiste, so he was like 30 at the time. I was like 21 maybe, and so we phone called, we video called, and he was in his car in front of his parents' house from like when he was young, and he told me he was like kind of also just like waiting it out. Sometimes he always like okay, he was like sniffing some weird stuff, so I'm not into that. Um, and he was just like we were just like a video chatting, and he told me, yeah, I'm like right in front of my parents' house in my car, but it's like past midnight. Why? Back then I was like in my cave, also at my parents, because like this used to be my coworker, this French guy, and I was like 21 maybe. So we have like 9 year age gap, and now he has a kid, and that's and he kind of so he was supposed to be like my uncle, like tonton is also a nickname. So oncle, you can also say tonton in French, and so he was like my bigger brother figure, so to speak. And so that guy, he was very hardworking, and he is still probably very hardworking. And he like moved up the ladder from just being like in the préparation. It's like he's probably still, but like anyhow, he moved up the ladder of like gastronomy, of like this food, like basically, like bakeries, restaurants, bars, and so on. He used to be a bartender, and then he became a seller in a bakery, and now I think he's like in some chocolaterie in Switzerland. But anyhow, I don't want to make this video about this guy, and I don't think he would even like it at all. I mean, what I've mentioned until now, he wouldn't mind, but I'm not here to make like videos about like other people from my real life. That would be kind of odd. And so anyhow, so now what I wanted to talk about is like especially how you or like I am included. So you're not always a priority. You're not always a priority, or you're not always the priority. So let me explain what I mean by that. Um, so one of my big fears in life later on, especially with how society evolves, is that a woman might like walk out on me. That maybe one day I be married to some woman, but like the statistics that are like 60% divorce rate, I think oftentimes initiated by women. And so it's a risk. And I think that like a lot of guys, it's like the whole like dating, like the whole dating thing, it got all messed up and fucked up. Like probably like even like something bad happened. Like, but you know, like something bad happened. Something like, I don't know if it was Corona, like the social distancing, um, like the keep some distance, like the Corona, the COVID kids, you know, like the Gen Z, the phones, the TikToks, the excessive like messages and not talking in real life, and then something in there. At least like in Germany now, like I wouldn't count on any of that stuff. Like, but maybe I'm just like very biased, and like maybe I'm just an exception. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm kind of an exception also. So, but so what do I mean by you're not always a priority? So that's maybe a way of wanting to like protect myself. But one rule that I've learned and that I think applies to a lot, if not all, social situations, is that you're not always a priority. I'm not always a priority. Like, meaning that sometimes I'm going to be an extra feature in the movie. I'm going to be a guy in the background. I'm not going to be the main character. Not always. This is not how it works. This is not how it works. Like, because you have movies, and usually in like storytelling, so you have main characters and you have like antagonists, protagonists, but then you also have some like characters in the background, some extra features and so on. But life, in real life, like the world, like the atoms, like the how like we like this like story. So the what this is just like a narrative, a narrative that we tell ourselves to make to give meaning and sense to life. And so the thing is, as Shakespeare said, is like we're like no, it's like the world, all the world's like stage, and all the men and women are merely players. And so, if you're a player, like, and if we consider this like a game or like a stage, which is very, I think like you cannot really even go around that statement. You cannot even, what do I mean? You cannot even statement is just so true. It's just so freaking true. And now I have fucking people behind my back, and they're fucking talking, and I wonder if they're going to go over, because it's so awkward if I meet these people in the middle of the night. They're three people at midnight. Yeah, I mean it's some random town, and I couldn't even like film myself in my room, because just like me talking like that, there's my brother next to me, and like across the corridors there's going to be my mom, upstairs is going to be my dad. Everything, you can hear everything. You can hear probably like you hear like each step on the stair, like in the stairwell, you hear each freaking step. You hear, and I remind you, I have lived alone for like a decade, and so going back to my parents for like a month is a shock, as like a shocker to me. It's like I'm like, damn, I need to hide. Like, why do I need to hide? Because, well, usually like my input of like my parents or like my family and so on, like would be like once every couple of weeks or month even, or like a couple of times a year. And then I would like have like an appearance, kind of like what I'm talking about, the stage. I would have my appearance on the stage, and I would play, you know, as the son, as this well-collected young guy on his endeavor to become better, like grown up, more like better, more sophisticated, like better guy, you know, more just like better, just like I guess is like what they want to see, but like to match those expectations, like there's also just like there's also what I said about like the whole like theater, the whole like stage that's like built around with like people that when do you actually pause? When do you actually pause it? You pause it. You know, it's like the middle of the night, you hear nothing, but you're like awake and you're not like asleep, but you're like, you could like meet people, but it wouldn't be super crowded, and you wouldn't even have phones, and you would maybe have like a quiet, warm, nice home and stuff like that. But like imagine how different that would be from like just like what at least I have, or like what people in big cities have, like a constant stimulation. And so the thing is, we are not like we are made at least. So my rule, or like kind of like the maybe coping mechanism that I kind of like came up with as a result, is that I withdraw from situations, but like I withdraw when I feel like it's too much. Like when I feel like, you know, it's that little. You can sometimes even like go a bit overboard. You can a bit, but you know, like you can't even like exaggerate, or you can't even like a bit too much. That's even okay. But then there's like the moment when you haven't just stayed a bit too much or like too much. It's like to the point where like your like character in the story of like people's consciousness and like just the social the dynamics and like the it doesn't make sense anymore. And so you have to be at least socially attuned or like calibrated in a way. You cannot just like walk around and have no freaking no just not holding back. I could theoretically just go up to people and just talk to chat them up and just be like all up in their face, but they would be like, so first of all, in Germany that wouldn't be very, people wouldn't really like, it's not the way that you really, maybe in Spain it could work, maybe in like France, but not even in big like hectic cities nowadays. Like it's the same I guess as in Germany. It's kind of this you almost fear like the world around you, and so it's justified. Well, I mean, is like anxiety is justified in nowadays society and world like that. I think like even without having like diagnosed chronic like anxiety syndrome, I think that a certain level of healthy anxiety must raise up. And so at some point at least, and so also downs, and just like that's how, for example, like to avoid having these downs, these crashes where people wonder like what you've been doing, derping around, not being so the whole like being collected thing, so that the whole being collected combined with appearing at certain moments and then strategically withdrawing. So there's clearly people down there, and I will have to cut this video now because they're going to, oh no, they're leaving. They're actually leaving. Because if you saw like the place, if someone would now see me, just like it would be very awkward. I could probably do it, but it would be very weird. Like it would be very weird. And this like Kuhdorf, so Kuh is like a cow, and Dorf is like a village. So it's not exactly a Kuhdorf, but you know, it kind of goes in that direction. And so to just see a guy who just like talks under like some lamp of the like kind of like of the way through some like, it's kind of like a hill going down to, there's like a little river, and then there's like a little church, and then there's like it goes down like that in zigzag, zigzag, you know, it goes down and like snakes in a snake's shape, and you have this like hill, and you go down, and if you see a guy on the middle of the hill, or in the middle, like on his iPad, because I broke my phone, so on his iPad with a joint on top of that, like recording himself, just saying whatever to his camera, they're going to be like scared probably. Yeah, and so like the whole like you're not a priority. This may be some people who live in bigger families. That's what I've also. Like maybe they learned that earlier. So if maybe even that realization that I'm having now, maybe it's just something from the past that emphasized again, or that like showed up again in my consciousness, is that I also have siblings, and so uh, I won't make things just about myself, just because I know that sometimes like the focus is going, my parents' focus is going to be more on one or the other. Now, if you're a single child, maybe don't learn this the same way, but for sure, I also now learned it in the adult life, is that sometimes even if a girl, like even if someone loves you, they just love everything about you in that moment. Well, is that so good? Because that means that as soon as you're going to act outside of these like expectations that have come up with like the image that you've built up in the other person's mind, if you deceive that, if you deceive that and or act like in a way that doesn't correspond, that doesn't match that image that you had built up, then guillotine, quick, socially you're done. It's like you're out of the movie, because people, remind you, are scared, and they want that narrative, they want that story to hold on to calm their anxiety with all the craziness in the world, and also our like how futile or like trivial our existence is on this earth compared to the universe, and like the whole like universe and so on. You got me? Like the universe and so on. And so yeah, I don't know, the whole like so I'm kind of pushing 30 now, because like I'm going to turn 28, and so like 2 years on top of that, like I remember things from 4 years ago that don't seem so like far away from for me. I mean, they seem kind of far away, but so then 2.5 years ago I'm going to be 30, and then sure, when I'm going to go back to my parents, I'm going to be like so guys, like my perception, maybe also your perception, and like maybe I shouldn't just stick around here in your face all the time. Like it's kind of weird or like unhealthy. I don't know, and I will also talk about this to my like psychologist, because I kind of need help in a way. Mm, because of the things I've told you, like the whole craziness, but of the world. But okay, but that's enough already. That's enough already. When I said like, imagine back in the days, you would watch the news, you would like exchange with your neighbor. You would be in like some town, and you would have to take like a train to go outside or to go to the next city, and to even get some information. Information would be very precious, and you would have something usually to back it up. But nowadays we live in the era of fake news, misinformation, and we also live in the time of artificial intelligence that basically sums up what it finds, and probably it's very strong, but like what's very strong also comes with downsides. So everything that has very strong like upsides will also come with downsides. And so it's like that's why also like I prefer not to like become overly hyped anymore, or like over, so that I will kind of avoid the crashes. So it's to know not to get like so wrapped up into something that you kind of anticipate the crash, at least once you are mature enough or like have some experience of life. Then I think like that like probably I will just like go back to my place. I'll be really tired, um, because I smoked this legal like joint. It's illegal, and I I will probably just like sneak into the house again, like not make one noise, but it makes noise inevitably. Just opening the main door, just like eat everything, just washing your hands, just like breathing, just going upstairs, like going in your room, like everything makes noise that could potentially wake someone else up in the house. So, and also smells and stuff like that. So that's why I have like a deodorant with me. But like for me to live like this now is kind of like, I'm wondering if maybe I should like level up like the my whole like life like living standards, like my whole life. Maybe I should like kind of like lift it up, kind of not lift it up, but like, you know, like tune it, like make it a bit. Maybe I should actually, you know, not just buy the discount like the cheapest chocolate, but I should maybe buy the brand in between, you know. Maybe I should do myself like a treat like that. No, but I don't think this is very conducive to anything, but to like ruin your wallet, because you only like make as much money as you also not spend. Because if you spend, this is very basic. This is of course like so. It's like almost like an evidence bias. It's so evident that always everyone will laugh at you, just like that you're not always a priority. Well, sometimes don't we feel like we are entitled a little too much if we take some perspective and we think back? We think like, yeah, back then, actually, I could just have waited it out, like anything. But then now I'm at a phase where I'm realizing that then things don't have to creep up onto you. So that's also like maybe a double-edged sword, So that, like, for example, if now I let everything kind of what I said, I don't give in the stress too much, but I kind of lay back and I wait things to happen. Maybe then I'm going to be in some kind of like passive posture of not really. So there's someone up. There's someone. So if I just happen to end the video, it's probably because there's someone that's going to like walk up to me, and it's fucking odd. And so I might just what I told you, because it's not really. It's kind of awkward. Some old lady, someone with like a bag, and they're not even walking on the way. They're walking like on the fucking meadow of the fucking hill. And it's fucking awkward. And I wouldn't want to get into any awkward situation. Okay, bye bye, and remind you, like, we're not always a priority. Sometimes it's good to like take a pause, withdraw, and be backstage for a while. Bye bye.